I mean, I'm about to make the most unhinged titles known to man covering Dandadan, aren't I? I said last week, forgive me, Father, for I'm about to simp. And the internet made me proud and decided to simp along with me. But what does my boy Ken decide to do this episode? He decides to suckle on the wrong grandma. And that ain't no clickbait, that ain't no exaggeration. He chomped on that. And honestly, the best way to explain that situation is you go to mature hour at the bar. The one friend gets the hot grandma, and the other has to take one for the team and be the wingman because, Jesus, I do not feel envy there. But the fact that this is my favorite part of the show, is how unhinged it actually is. Not just on a pure visual spectacle level. The fact that our girl's grandma is like, hey, like, do you even have anything down there? Because he gets his manhood back this episode, and she boldly's like, show it to me. And then the euphemism of the crab meat. And then they look at our girl and she's munching. This show be wildin'. And you know damn well I'm here for next episode. I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my mind break to that Dandadan greatness, it's over there exclusively. So, best episode, hands down. I think right now, 4 and 3 are like the pinnacle of the show. Like, damn, like that's the quality to match. I would honestly say like 60% of this episode was just wild animation. And not just in the way that like, okay, yeah, like a lot of buildings are getting destroyed. No, like, this is movie level. And the fact that there's rumors that season 2 is being worked on, like, this has to be a passion project. There's no way the director of this show just casually got hired to do an adaptation of a decently popular... No, like, this has to be like, no, I wanted to do this. Because the number of times that Turbo Granny be chasing us, and the way the build... Because a lot of times, and if you've seen enough anime, you're going to know what I'm talking about, is something came crashing through a building or a building was erupted. Even if it's not 3D, like, it's like, okay, yeah, the blocks are kind of falling and they're getting thrown. No, like, this is almost as if, like, a nuclear bomb level blast is going off and just everything gets, like, propelled inward. It's just the color palette, the animation, the expression. The fact that we essentially have the most intense game of tag known to man, where we're just taunting Turbo Granny. Because for a little bit, they actually kind of did okay. Like, we start the episode off very Attack on Titan-y. Like, I mean, we literally go into a tunnel and Connie's mom's just sitting there. Like, it was pretty freaky, I'm not gonna lie. And the idea of like, hey, no one's gonna cheat, but give us a 10-minute head start, and she's like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes, is like, well, you didn't specify, you know, how to count minutes. It's like, technically that's true, but this bitch, it's like clever, but, you know, screw her. The idea that we just end up running, and at one point he ends up getting his manhood back, and, you know, all's well that ends well. And then we see her almost like this like serpent-like thing attached to him, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, you know, that could actually work out pretty cool. Like, because if we have normal grandma, aka sexy grandma, who we sometimes see and she's kind of like the mentor figure, having maybe like a mascot level character with us would actually make sense. And honestly, someone who's constantly talking shit would be a fun addition. But then they quickly kind of say like, oh no, they're not going to do that. And then I think about the ending song where there's a, like, I forget what they're called, but those cat figure things, I think they're for good luck. That thing's alive and moving. So the whole episode, I'm thinking, oh, we're going to put Turbo Granny into that moving cat object. But then they don't do that. And I'm like, what who the hell is that damn cat? Is that just a misdirect? Are they going to do nothing with it? I have no damn idea. But at some point, I think a spirit's going inside that thing, because Jesus. But you know what? It's not a bad day, I guess, to be Ken. He did have to take one for the team, and he had to suckle on a saggy tata, but at the end of the day, he did get his manhood back, and, you know, he didn't just simply have a goodbye. He had a see you tomorrow, which I thought was actually a pretty pleasant way to end the episode. At first, I was kind of confused. I was like, what the hell are they so confused by the word goodbye? But I guess goodbye is a little too final. Like, you know, goodbye. Like, we solved this. All's well that ends well. We go on with our lives. But the rather see you tomorrow shows that they actually have a genuine connection at this point. And I think a very common thing that I've been saying, and I've been seeing a decent amount in my comments section, and I imagine it's a pretty common opinion overall, is that it doesn't feel like we've known these characters the length we have. Because we've only known them for 4 episodes. That's not a lot of time. And given how quickly they've pretty much bonded and have started bickering like an old married couple, or, you know, best friends who have been constantly talking shit about each other for all their life. It feels like we've known these characters for a lot longer than we actually have, and it makes their whole dynamic just so much more compelling. And the idea of just the plan. Like, we end up in like a zombie apocalypse situation where like people are just swarming and chasing us, and the way they just run around, like the red aesthetic that they went for, it was mostly like almost like red lighting the entire episode up until when, you know, we erupted them and it became more of a blue tinge to kind of show that we purified the bullshittery. Just so remarkably well done. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, at this point anyway, could things change? Sure. But as it stands, Dandadan is one of the best produced things that 2024 has. It's easily the best fall anime produced. I don't think that's even up for debate if you ask me. But if they continue to pull this off, because when they do 3D, when they do the mixture of 2D and 3D and the different art directions, like, Science Saru is probably one of the most consistent studios. They don't produce as much as a lot of different studios, but the stuff they produce is always visually and narratively so different than a lot of studios, and at times it does give me Studio Trigger vibes. But at the end of the day, like, they very much are a very unique studio, and they just pop off, man. Like, they do such a remarkable job, whether it's something like a Devilman Crybaby, whether it's something like Keep Your Hands Off Ezokim. They know what they're doing, and this is one of my favorite visual styles that I've seen all freaking year, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest to say it's in a top 3 and could even fight for that #1 spot visually for me, depending on how the rest of the season goes. It's that good. The best part of this show is, as wild as it is, as unhinged as it is with sexual innuendos and what the hell violence am I seeing, the actual dynamic with the Central 2 is the core thing that keeps it together. It is unhinged, no one should deny that, but the idea that you generally look at these two and the bonds they're forming, despite at face value it happening almost overnight and very quickly over 4 episodes. I don't know exactly how the author did it, but somehow they managed to make something so immediate but then again, everyone at some point in their life has that one connection that you just feel like you've known each other forever. Sometimes you're going to butt heads like an old married couple, sometimes you're just going to naturally mesh and get along. So that's probably why it works so well, but a lot of authors have tried similar character dynamics and just forcing them to get along, and it doesn't stick the landing as well as Dandadan's has, and I think it also helps that they casted the perfect VAs for these wild personas. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Definitely suckled on the wrong grandma, and he should have ran away from the proper grandma. That's all I'm saying. Thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Edvar, Golden Angel 1517, That Random Man, Anime Man. We also have Paul Tar. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you all have a good one.